Alright, so on paper, the MK35 doesn't really look like anything special. Something that just kind of sits in the middle of the category without doing much to stand out. Hey, this is Nick, and today we're going over the recently unredacted weapon report for the MK35 assault rifle. The full version, all of the stats, and the entire scoring engine behind it will be completely free down in the description below. The operations manual breaks down how each category is evaluated, and the scoring specification maps out the formulas and weights behind the numbers. What this report uncovered is a pretty wild reality. This weapon is one attachment away from completely redefining how it performs. The MK35 is a mid-range beast with elite recoil control, and it shows up strongest when other guns start breaking down. On paper, 320 and 400 millisecond time to kills don't look very competitive, but because both of those values come from the same breakpoint, this gun holds its performance far more consistently than the rest of the class. A 42 meter minimum damage range is solid, but a 42 meter max damage range absolutely crushes the class average of 29 meters. And accuracy is where all of this comes into focus. You're looking at a recoil score of 90, very little horizontal movement, and a pattern that's very easy to stay on target with. We'll get into builds later, but for now we're going to show you how one attachment slot can transform this gun and push your playstyle to its full potential. The damage barrel allows the MK35 to reduce its shot to kill at every range with just a single headshot. That gives the MK35 new time to kill potentials of 240 and 320. And if you layer in rapid fire, you can push that down even further. And what makes that actually viable is the still low recoil, letting you hit those TTKs consistently, not just on paper. If you're not trying to rely on headshots, this is where the MK35 becomes a lot more consistent. The Nightfall suppressor barrel, which is the prestige attachment for the MK35, is effectively 3 attachments in one. You're getting range, suppression, and even a noticeable improvement to hipfire spread. And if you struggle sticking to 5 attachments, this is the build that simplifies everything. That 320 millisecond time to kill now stretches out to 50 meters. So instead of just being a strong mid-range weapon, this becomes the fastest practical mid-range time to kill in the entire assault rifle class. And on top of that, it's suppressed by default. Now, if you're looking for a true long-range laser, equip the long barrel for a staggering range increase. You're taking that 320 millisecond damage tier and pushing it all the way out to 60 meters. And realistically, if you're taking fights much farther than that with an AR, something's probably gone wrong. This MK35 build is just raw, consistent lethality across the entire range window. And what's interesting is, we've basically just walked through the entire core of the weapon report without stopping to read numbers off a spreadsheet. Because when all of these stats actually support each other, you stop looking at isolated strengths and start seeing a real weapon identity. And to finish out the lethality side of the report, the MK35 sustain profile is solid overall. The MK35 sticks with a standard 30 round mag, but its reload speeds are fast enough that the gun maintains pressure surprisingly well. So while this isn't necessarily a weapon built around ammo economy, it has more than enough sustain to support the kind of ranged pressure this gun is designed for. You can see from the report that handling and mobility are slightly below average overall. ADS speed is workable at 260 milliseconds, but the bigger issue is the sprint to fire time sitting closer to 240, which puts it on the slower side of the category. Now let's see what happens when all of that gets translated into actual builds. The first I'd recommend for most players is the Prestige build. We're running the EAM XL Reflex, although honestly, just use whatever optic you're most comfortable with. We're also running the Nightfall Suppressor Barrel Prestige attachment, the Mobile Recoil Foregrip, Extended Mag, and the Quick Draw Grip. You're extending the MK35's 320 millisecond time to kill out to 50 meters while also getting built-in suppression and tighter hipfire spread at the same time. Quick Draw brings the ADS speed down to a very solid 195 milliseconds. The Mobile Recoil Foregrip improves both movement speed and horizontal recoil control, and Extended Mags brings the weapon up to 40 rounds. The end result is a suppressed mid-range dominance build that stays effective across a wide range of engagements, and probably the version of the MK35 I'd recommend to most players. The next setup we're going to go over is the Damage Barrel High Pressure build. We're running the EAM XL Reflex, although again, just use whatever optic you'd like, alongside the Damage Barrel, Quick Draw Grip, Mobile Recoil Foregrip, and Stable Range Laser. With just a single headshot, this build can push the MK35 down to a 240 millisecond time to kill, all the way out to 50 meters, and honestly, that's what makes this build so dangerous. Because with the MK35's excellent recoil profile, those headshots are actually very realistic to hit consistently in real engagements. So instead of feeling like some unstable high-risk gimmick build, this ends up feeling like a high-pressure setup built around consistently converting that one headshot advantage into real kills. The final core setup we are going to cover is the long-range laser build. We're running the Redwell 2x optic alongside the long barrel, compensator, quick draw grip, and the control stock. And this setup is built around one thing, turning the MK35 into a frickin' laser beam. The compensator, control stock, and even the optic itself are all working together to further stabilize the recoil profile and reduce gun kick, making the weapon feel incredibly controlled and repeatable at range. Every category in this report is being driven by actual weapon data, weighted calculations, and practical multiplayer performance. The final scores here are not trying to tell you what to think. They're meant to take all of the hidden complexity behind these weapons and turn it into something understandable and directly comparable. And the full weapon report, along with all of the stats, calculations, and engine behind it, will be completely free in the description below. So please, a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated. Hope everyone has a blessed day. See you in the next video.